And there was many arguments when I would talk about my journey or what was going on within our marriage or with my family. You would be like, leave us out of this.
I know, and the only reason I disliked you, and because you were doing what I wanted to do.
Welcome to another episode of Do the Work podcast. We're recording live, and I'm here with my co-host,
Carla Araujo.
Miss Carla Araujo. I am AZ Araujo. I am the main host.
Oh my goodness.
No, that's not.
No, but
accurate.
Today on this one, I'm going to give you 100% credit.
No. Go ahead. But speak to the.
I
don't want to be.
Did you just
I don't
push
want
the
to be
mic in my face?
I don't want to be the co-host and also the director and producer. Trying to make sure
today
that
I want to
you
give
should
you.
know
I
this by
want
now.
to give you 100% credit on everything we're doing today.
Why was that? No, you came in here and said we're doing a podcast today,
Right,
not on
because
Thursday.
I took appreciation for you this morning.
Okay, so talk to me.
I took appreciation for you this morning because a couple of years back when we were doing this whole social media thing,
Yeah.
we were on the verge of
we were at odds
I'm out of
ends.
here. Yeah,
yeah. We're at opposite ends of the spectrum.
I didn't understand where we were going with this.
So you're
so
right.
I woke up with so much appreciation for you because I'm actually in the process of, you know, I don't want to put anything out there, but I'm in the process of coaching in this whole social media, market your business.
Yeah.
You know, and I woke up this morning like, wow, have I gotten this far
Yeah.
by the little reps that I've been doing and feeling uncomfortable? But I guess what took me there?
Check the sound on hers as well, please. I want to make sure that we're on. Go ahead.
Guess what took me there?
What got you there?
You.
I did.
Yeah.
All right.
But we were like, I'm half in and half out. And I was like, where are you going with this whole thing? You put my life on blast.
No, you hated me for a little while, right?
Ooh,
Because
hate's a little harsh word.
I would say hate is the appropriate word.
All right. Hate. Let's go with that because that would actually, you know what? At the moment, yes.
Yes. It's a harsh word, but it was the reality.
Yeah, it was.
So, this was like 5 years ago. But prior to this, 5 was 5 years ago.
Way before that.
No, it was like 6 years ago then.
I don't know.
I didn't start really being on social media until like 2014.
All right. Well, all right.
Okay, so that 2019 minus 14 is 5
but
years.
I didn't start. And you know what's? Anyway, go ahead.
Okay.
Because I could ramble on about a lot of things.
So I started, and you would get so upset because I happened to show you in the background, or I happened to say something about the family, because this was my growth stage, right? I was trying to discover myself. If you go back to my private Facebook group or to my Facebook page,
right,
and go back to 2014, you'll see me every day. On video, like my hands are shaking. I'm talking to the camera, I'm
going to interrupt you here in a little.
Yeah, that was pretty deliberate interruption. But go ahead.
It was because I want to jump in here. That's why I'm so excited. I'm so excited.
The energy's like a high end.
Is it too high for you?
No, it's good.
Okay,
I can handle it.
I'm going to interrupt
for about 5 more minutes
on these little pieces. It's crazy because before we set up for this podcast, people don't actually see the arguments we get into.
We do get into some arguments. Yeah,
we do. Our crew has to hear us. But anyway, so when you were marketing, I was actually heading at that time, I think it was that year, I was heading for my IFBB Pro card.
Yes.
I was in competition, so I was constantly on stage, and I was out there with thousands of people. And I would always take photos of myself, right, in my bikini, or I would take photos working out, but I wasn't confident enough to actually make a live video. Or even talk on a video.
Yes.
It was just like selfies of myself.
Selfies. It was very
and the lighting
intentional.
And intentional, yeah.
It had to be a certain way, certain, perspective, and that's all you would show.
And so people were like, "Oh, congratulations!" Everybody was like, I felt like I had an army that was just with me on this. Like I would have hundreds of likes and this is awesome. You look great. So I just kind of stuck with that because that was my comfort zone.
Yeah.
It was just selfies and pictures when I look
It was
good.
very strategic about how you put stuff out there.
Right.
So here I come.
Right.
Not very strategic at all. As a matter of fact, I sounded like a mumbling and bumbling fool for many times.
Right.
Just because I wasn't used to it. I was trying to get over my own insecurities about putting myself out there. So here we are, a very structured way to do things and how to appear to the general public. And here I am coming in and just kind of putting myself out there. And there was a clash. There was an immediate clash. Mm-hmm. And there was many arguments when I would talk about my journey or what was going on within our marriage or with my family. You would be like, leave us out of this.
I know. And the only reason I disliked you, and because you were doing what I wanted to do. Oh. So I disliked you. I was just like, mother.
So what you're saying, so with that saying.
Mother. So every time you would do a live video or a video, and I was just like, oh, how can I get to that point?
And that gets me thinking, Carla, like you had that same, you were hating on me or trying, or would make comments or say things to me because I was doing things that you wanted to do.
Right, and I was already
did you
exposing myself. Like I said, it wasn't like I was hidden. I was exposing myself already with thousands of people.
Strategically.
Yes, and I was like, how is he doing this with not feeling the doubt or like
embarrassment,
the shame? Yeah, and I'm like, and even moments that I wanted to tell myself like, he doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
What is he doing?
I probably didn't make sense.
I was very critical of you.
Yeah.
And I've said that to you several times.
And that gets me thinking, like when people are critical of others doing things online, right? Whether they decide to do a podcast live like we're doing it right now.
Right.
Or we're putting ourselves out there, maybe exposing a little bit more of our lives than what others are used to. I think those that have that immediate dislike or an opinion about how they are wrong, oftentimes are the same people that wish they can do the same thing that those individuals are doing.
You know what? One time, I started with, the more I started being by your side, fast forward, the more I started being by your side on you making these social media videos, right? I would just kind of stay in the car quiet.
Yeah.
Or I would be at a restaurant, wherever you would be live.
You would giggle in the background.
I would giggle in the background. I had not much to say.
You didn't have much of a voice.
No, I just made sure that I batted my eyes and puckered my lips really nicely. So I was always being like, okay, watch this angle. And then somebody had private messaged me, some gentleman private messaged me. He said, why are you a mute every time AZ goes live?
Damn.
And I started crying. I'm like, oh my God, because he really called me out.
Yeah,
Why am I a mute? But I didn't know the gentleman, so what was I going to say? Because I lack confidence. I don't know what to say.
Yeah.
The reality is I've always knew what to say. I always knew what to say. I lacked the confidence.
Yeah, you lack the confidence.
Embarrassed. People are going to judge me. They're not going to like me. All these things ran through my head, and it just didn't make sense. So to get to this point in my life, I seriously woke up today with such
gratitude.
Yes.
I love it.
And so with appreciation of you,
you
pushed it. You really pushed it. But I want to talk about this. In the transition, it wasn't easy.
It wasn't.
It wasn't. It was several times where you slept on the couch.
Yeah.
It was several times that I was just like, I ignored
want
you.
out.
I ignored you. I want out. You're moving too fast for me. It was like, you were moving too fast. I was just moving too slow.
Ooh, I like that.
I was moving too slow. I lacked the confidence.
Yeah, and it's vital for all you entrepreneurs that are listening on here with me right now. It's vital to showcase your business online.
Right.
But not only that, to show up the personal side of you. That's where the marketing's gone. People want to know more about you. The personal and the business come together as one. And I don't think if we would have made that transition, we wouldn't have the success that we have today.
And I could market all day long on this workout stuff. I could market all day long.
Or you can market as a professional, just realtor, one way. But
right.
you're only going to reach a certain amount of people if you don't show them your personality.
Yes.
And then we see this a lot with a lot of, social media, with people that are good on Instagram, for example. They just show photos.
Right.
But they'll never show videos of themselves with their personality. Right. So nobody really knows what they're like.
And I always say you have
because they're so ashamed of, or embarrassed or don't have the confidence.
You have to constantly market your business and be proud of it. And just know that that is you. That is all you. And so in order for us to grow in the real estate and the brokerage, I had to show up in the business aspect of it, of like day in and day out making these videos and in real estate. And this is my brokerage and this is it. And I'm a coach. And I'm a coach and I'm this. But these selfie videos or videos with no voice and no meaning behind it wasn't getting me far. It was just reaching a certain audience and boom.
And I think a lot of small business owners don't go that route because of what their spouse might say.
Yep.
And it could be a husband or a wife, but we've ran into this many times with our own clients where, well, I don't market on social media because my husband doesn't really like it, or because I used to be married and I don't want these people to know what I'm doing right now. So they're like really putting a ceiling on the success they're going to have because of the feelings of somebody else, as opposed to saying, hey, I'm just going to do it. And as a matter of fact, you had to overcome a lot of that as you were starting out to market more. One, I had to overcome it with you, but you also had to overcome it with your family because people were calling you after you started becoming really raw and real.
Oh my goodness.
They were calling you and saying, what are you doing?
Oh my goodness, AZ. When I put my life out there on social media, it was incredible, and it wasn't positive. It was all negative.
Right.
So all these private messages that I was getting, I wasn't even friends with them. They were trying to friend me, and I would decline them. But
it was your family.
It was family that were randomly like 6 cousins or something. I don't know, that apparently I knew you when I was born. Would like private message me. Did you know what you did to me? And you this and you. I'm like, who are you? And so I don't know. And then people questioning me why I'm doing X, Y, and Z.
And why you're telling certain stories about the family.
Right.
And I remember you had one response that I thought was very clever. She says, and you just simply told him, this is my story.
Right.
If you got something different to say about that same story, then you tell it.
Right.
But I am telling it on my page. I am telling it through my eyes, through my experience. So
Yes.
it is my story, not yours.
Right.
My story.
After a while, I started not ignoring them, but saying thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you. Regardless of what their message was, negative, positive, it doesn't matter. I was like, thank you, and that's it. If you don't, and another thing I found when I was doing a business a live video or some video or whatever, and I would get a comment, a negative comment, I would leave it there because I would really love and embrace it. If you have that much time to write me a negative message or reply, what are you doing with your business in your life? Like, so true business entrepreneurs will not write negative stuff on there.
No, they won't.
And they won't because they have better things to do.
A real player.
A real player, yeah. They just ignore it. So that stuck with me forever. And this was years back. It stuck with me. So I was like, I'm going to continue giving the spire and content, and I'm only going to get better. And I became really good.
You're very good. You're very natural
Right.
on live. Again, we recorded these all live. We don't, pause if we happen to stutter or we don't make sense. We just try to correct ourselves because we are human in that. And I would encourage that, those that have businesses really get out there and showcase your true personality, your true self. And Carla, you've gone above and beyond because people are really able to see who you are. You do these series called the Glass Ceiling, Glass Ceiling series. If you haven't seen that, go to her Instagram or her
It's Glass House.
Facebook. Glass House. I'm sorry.
Glass House.
Glass House. The Glass House series, and she really just shows her personality. And you're like a comedian, I'm telling you.
And it was a random thing. I remember one morning we woke up, and I think we were at breakfast, and I was cracking jokes.
And I was like,
and you're
let's
like,
put
you
this
know
on video."
what? I need to videotape you on who you really are when you crack these jokes. And I'm like, because I'm cracking jokes all day long.
Yeah.
And so that's just who I am. And growing up, I was always told like, and it would, back to my story, people would shut me down.
Crazy
like,
Carla.
Crazy Carla, you're this, you're that. It's like people were just so judgmental. Oh, I would get this a lot. When are you going to grow up? I'm like, I don't think I'm ever going to grow up. I don't think that's something you should tell someone. It's like, what exactly does that mean when you're going to grow up? I just love life. And I have all these, I'm now my personality is truly shining and no longer am I hiding. Because when I'm Crazy Carla, if you like to call me that, or Serious Carla, Business Carla, Coach Carla, and that's just who I am. I have my personality is just I think it's amazing and beautiful. And if you judge me, well then that's great. I'm just not meant to be in your life. Right. So that's kind of the way I see it.
But there was a growing process through this because the more raw and open you became, it really allowed you to really appreciate who you are, not just a structured way, right? Like you used to position it before. And I think many people still do, where they just position themselves in a structured way and they have to fall within that paradigm.
Yep.
When you're yourself, there is no paradigm you have to fall within because that's who you are.
Yep.
And I think that's a powerful way to live. And we've seen an immense growth in our businesses because of that. Right? Because our clients that come to work with us or our agents that come and work with us, they know exactly who they're going to get as soon as they walk in through the doors. And
I love that. I always get that when I'm meeting with new agents or agents that sign on. They're like, you are the same person on social media. I'm like, well, yeah, I'm no different.
Well, because I think so many people are so used to seeing a one way in social media and then them being a different way. Right? Like maybe a husband that's saying, hey, I'm the best husband ever, but he's actually something different in real life.
Right.
And so I think, again, the whole point of this is to really be aware of what you're putting out there. And I'm going to tell you guys, like, put it all out there. And some people are like, well, don't put your dirty laundry out there. I'm not saying create the drama behind it, but what I'm saying is learn to harness your true power, which is your personality. Your personality is your number one driver to success.
I believe drama is only created if you create drama. And again, when I put stuff out there, that is my story. If I get negative feedback or replies, I can only create drama if I'm going to reply to that message. So I always steer from drama of just staying away from drama. I appreciate the reply, I appreciate the message, the negative, the positive. I don't like the drama, so I don't invite it into my life, and I just say, okay, thanks. And then that's pretty much it. I don't delete them. I leave them there. So drama's only created, you're only going to pull the trigger.
There's drama that's created outside, but what about the drama that's created within the household, right? What would you say to those women or even men that want to be able to get to a higher level in their business, but they know they're being constrained because they're not they're not marketing on social media or being more of their authentic self on social media because their husband or their wife has a big issue with it. What would you tell them on how to be able to move past that? Because if they start putting stuff on social media, it's going to create this chaos at home. It's going to cause resentment. It's going to cause issues. What do you say to that?
Well, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Did it cause issues at
It
our
caused
house?
many issues with us.
And what did you do?
I was very, what's the right word I'm looking for? I knew what I wanted. At that point, I knew that I had to lead our family down this path.
And what did I just tell you? What was I honest with you and told you?
What was that?
When I said I wanted to do exactly what you were doing.
So maybe that's what's happening there. So are you saying that they should go ahead and face that pain right now?
Yes.
As opposed to, okay.
Yes. And so when we face that and we have those crucial conversations and the other person's not willing to listen, it is okay. You continue being you and what you want. What do you want the outcome to be? Yeah. You want to be a marketer?
Some people may say I want to grow my business, but I also don't want to get divorced.
Well, you can't have both.
Okay.
So if the other person's not on that page,
and you want to succumb or subside from your goals to meet
right,
that,
then you might want to reconsider the marriage, or you might want to reconsider how far you want to take your business.
Yeah.
It really goes. I mean, what are you going to do? It's not something like you're going in with a solution. There is no solution. It's just you understanding what do you want the outcome to be. Do you want the outcome half in, half out? Do you want the outcome to be all into your business? Your marriage might suffer. And the understanding that your marriage might not be it. You might cause that divorce.
Well, for us, I think it was the greatest thing because I had a conviction of continuing to stay true to what I wanted.
Well, AZ, what did you want the outcome to be?
I wanted the outcome of being a powerful person,
Where
right?
was I?
Yeah.
Where was I? You knew that the marriage was going to
You're
suffer.
asking me questions like I'm supposed to guess. Just tell me.
No. What I'm telling you is
Yeah.
I'm asking you because you're asking me the question,
Yeah.
right? So I'm through experience, you made it consistent.
Yeah.
So
I had that conviction. Yeah.
Right. So with me, it was just like I kept pushing you, like don't do it, right?
Yeah.
And so where did you think the marriage was going to go? You didn't pay much attention to it.
No, I didn't focus on marriage.
Exactly.
Because at that point, I mean, we were having our own times, and I think that was right at the point where we decided that we had to discover our own paths, but yet we were being drawn back by old patterns of trying to control what the other person does or how they operate. And at that point, I said, well, I just need to do this for me, type of thing.
Right.
And from that, after all the resistance, you took off. And then it was with that game of not being left behind.
I think a lot of times we feel like we own the other person, and something that I had to own up to and understand this process. I don't own you.
Right.
So you are my spouse, you are my friend, you are my business partner.
Yes, very good point.
So we had to have 3 different conversations as a friendship, as a business partners, and as a marriage.
Yes.
So if we didn't have those 3 conversations, we wouldn't be where we're at today.
No, and I like what you said.
I don't own you, AZ. You can do whatever you want. My understanding coming into this marriage is like you're disrespecting this marriage. You're not giving me what I want.
Right.
You're not showing me the respect. Well, I don't own you.
Yeah.
You have every reation to do what you need to do for
and
your
I think that's the
business.
biggest mistake we make getting into a marriage, and we made it. We became codependent and interdependent. That now I felt like you were an extension of me when you're your own person. You're your own. You have your own experience, your own personality, and yet I was trying to control you. And we talked about this before, where I was trying to control on how you would show up when we were around clients or in front of my family, and that's not who I married. I married you as an individual. So I think as couples, we make that mistake of becoming codependent or interdependent when it should be 2 independents coming together for common goals.
Right.
So I think after being, intertwined for so many years of being interdependent, codependent, we had to break that off, right? Mm-hmm. And that's why at that point I was like, no, I got to do this for me. And yet there were still those past habits that we had of trying to control the other person.
Right.
So maybe you're in that place. If your husband or your wife is like really controlling that aspect of you, you're into that web of interdependency or codependency.
Right. It's kind of like this. I had a client where she was like, she drew a vivid picture and this beautiful picture of where she wants to be in business. And then the major conversation was, my husband's holding me back.
Yeah.
But you're not having that crucial conversation with your husband.
Because they don't want that. They don't want that pain, or they don't want that.
Right. So you're having a Coach Carla. You're having a Coach Carla, but you're not having it with your husband.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, okay, what do you want? What do you want the outcome to be? I don't want a divorce. Well, then you don't want to be the business person that you're describing.
Yeah.
Because the business person you're describing takes a lot of sacrifices and crucial conversations with your spouse.
Yeah.
If the spouse is not understanding, then you might want to stop drawing that vivid or imagining that picture, because you're going to constantly be hitting the wall and suffering.
Him more. Yeah.
And resenting him. Then understand it's either the crucial conversation, a possible divorce or a successful businesswoman that you're actually looking at. So which one do you want?
Yeah.
A balance? Great if the other person is willing to, give in and give and take kind of deal.
Yeah.
But for the most part, balance is hard. That balance is hard if not two people are on the exact same page.
Well, Carla, I think we've had this conversation where we say, you should compromise. You should compromise. But I think that's why a lot of marriages divorce, because that's all we do is compromise.
But I'm not compromising my happiness with you.
No, I know, and I know that. And I know that. I know you won't compromise much with me anymore. If you want to do it, you'll do it. And that's what makes me more involved into the relationship. Now I have to ask myself, okay, what do I want? But I think compromise got us into the situation we were in for many years because we were constantly giving up what we wanted for the other person.
Yeah.
So when you have those crucial conversations, you're almost saying, I'm not compromising on this.
Yeah.
This is where I want to go. I want you to come. And I remember we had that conversation.
I was just going to say, you had that conversation with me specifically.
I said, with or without you, I know where I'm going.
Exactly.
Because
I remember that.
And I remember you then turned it on me a couple of years later, where you said, with or without you, I know where I'm going. And that lit a fire under me and you as well to say, wait a minute, maybe I am holding the other person back.
Yeah.
And the last thing I want is to live all these years together. We've been married 16 years now. And we had this conversation. We had a crucial conversation just this past.
Isn't 17?
16 years, homie.
How long have I known you?
Oh, for 20 years.
I thought we were married for 17.
No, 16.
Oh, Dane, okay. All right.
We have a 14-year-old.
I'm sorry. Yeah, you're right.
16?
Yeah. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
All right, anyway. But we also had a crucial conversation just this past weekend about, the last thing we want is to go another 5 years and then resent the fact that we stayed in a marriage. Right?
Yeah.
And we had that conversation. We constantly have that conversation about, you told me about what you want. Yeah. Now I have to decide, am I willing to give it to you or not?
And I love what you just said, because you have to constantly have this conversation with each other. And we just had it last week, a week before our anniversary.
Yeah.
And so it's always...
Even the day of our anniversary.
It's always going back to that moment of, okay, what does the other person want? Because we're constantly changing. Yeah. We're wanting more. We're not remaining the same people.
No, we're different.
We're so different. So it's constantly going back to that conversation. What do we want from each other? What our expectations are, I guess.
Well, speaking of which, before we get there, I would never have imagined you being this person when I first met you. You were just like just trying to please and just being funny. But now who you are today is like, I had to be one hell of a man to be able to handle someone like
I was just going to say, I could never see you in a position of being a man that could handle me.
Yeah.
Because you were so, I like to use that word, you were so macho. Machismo. And I was just like, man, this isn't going to work out. But I held on. I held on for many, many years.
You played the giggly, I'll do, to be happy with you.
To get to this position now was like, I knew you were going to be around when I got to this position, but I knew if I didn't get to this position, I was going to resent you. And it was going that route. It went that route. Yeah, it actually did go that route.
It went that route. So there was a lot of growing here, but like I said, I would never have imagined you to becoming this powerful person, this powerful being that I respect so much today. And I'll tell you what, it does take a powerful man to handle a strong woman. And I think that's one of the things that men have to kind of continue to remind themselves, that maybe we are, like I felt like I was holding you back for many years, right? Yeah. I kept on pigeonholing you to the person that I met, that I refused to see the actual growth of many years
and I love to,
in this, not only in this business, but as a person.
Yeah, and you know what? I have this conversation with some of my clients. When you start to make changes within yourself on knowing what you want and going for that, people around you would cheer you on. Like, they'll cheer you on. They'll be like, oh, I see the growth. It's great. But when you're consistent, it was when people start removing themselves from your lives, because they don't want to see consistency. They applaud you. They support you.
They'll applaud you up to the point where you surpass them.
Yeah, right? You're just like, dang.
Yeah.
And so I'm getting a lot of like, hey, Carla, a lot of people are not recognizing me. They're, I keep showing up. It's a resistance. It's like, because they're not used to of you being consistent.
Right.
They're used to of you just showing up one day and then going months.
And then tell the story about how you fell off the next day.
So no one is used to you. So when you're consistent, you'll start to see a whole new audience.
Yep.
Your family, your friends. You're like, wow, these are the ones that stayed with me. But yeah, the consistency throws people off. So, and that's in your marriage as well.
Yes. Well, very, very good points that we talked about. We named it social media affairs, but an affair is just anything, right? It's just the experience. And I hope you're able to take this if you own a small business, or also if you're just in a situation where you feel like you're being constrained. Like, find out what you want. Really ask yourself there and have those crucial conversations. It may get ugly, but with any change, it does get uglier before it gets better.
Right. And the reason why I wanted to name it Affairs AZ was overall it's just a subject, right? The affair is affair. But I wanted to name it Affair because I believe there's a lot out there on social media, a lot of platforms that people do happen to have those kind of relationships. That jealousy comes in a marriage where it's like, hey, I'm trying to conduct business. I'm trying to market my business. It's like, no, are you trying to build relationships with the wrong people? We're married. And so that's why I wanted to name it Affairs because it's so broad and it could just go anywhere. But the affair is huge.
Yeah, there's a lot of insecurity.
A lot of insecurities in a marriage or in relationships and just boyfriend and girlfriend relationships in general. There's so much insecurities. You're constantly like, who are you friending? Who are you? Who's on your social media? Who are you friends with? It's like, and so their other person's having a problem with they're not understanding like, hey, this is all business, because it really depends on your reputation. Well, like,
well, it also depends on the history of the person that's trying to be out there.
Yeah.
And if you're not, if here's the thing, if you don't trust that person now, nothing's going to change. Not even a social media account.
No.
So maybe having that crucial conversation with yourself first and foremost.
Yep.
But you trying to keep individuals from doing what they want because of the chance they might go astray, then that possibility is always going to be there.
Something happened here. Oh.
Then that possibility is always going to be here.
I actually did a Glass House episode on sharing accounts, and I wanted to do that because I saw so much of that going on, and it just brought me back to this subject right now that I wanted to bring it onto the podcast.
So good. Lots to think about. Guys, we want to thank you for joining us for another episode of Do the Work Podcast. Now, with that, go to your favorite podcast provider. Make sure to rate, subscribe, and review. And I'll tell you what, like I do this all the time when we send out lots of shirts on a weekly basis. If you send me a copy of your review, I will send you a free shirt, the Do the Work shirt. So make sure to do that. Thank you for your support. Carla, great topic.
Well, thank you for going in on. You were just blinded. You had no idea I was going to talk about this, right?
I'm always blindsided by you, but hey, I get it done. I deliver.
That's right.
That's right. Guys, thank you again, and we will talk to you soon.
Bye, everyone.